The National Weather Service in Birmingham, Alabama has issued a tornado warning.
It started off as a shake and then really turned into more of a swing.
Large chunks of buildings fell to the streets as people rushed for cover.
The skyscrapers nearby were swaying like trees in the wind.
I did think at one point that I really might die here.
And then round two as the tsunami sirens wail.
You're seeing live footage of a tsunami engulfing the port area.
When the ominous Black Sea attacked this island nation Friday, it left behind a massive trail of destruction that is getting worse by the hour.
A giant tsunami wave crashes into the Fukushima Daiichi power plant, seriously damaging the building's reactors.
The Japanese Prime Minister Naoto Kan said today the disaster is the worst crisis for Japan since World War II.
Surely I turn myself to thee, striving to be upright, to he who originated heavens and earth, thou not upon this. Surely my prayers, my sacrifice, my life and my death are all for Allah, Lord of the world. No associate has he, this I am commanded, for I'm of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I've been greatly unjust to myself, and I do confess my faults. So grant me protection against my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thou. And guide me to the best of morals, for none guides me to the best of morals but thou. And turn away from me all the evil and the indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals but thou. O Allah, bless Muhammad and the true followers of Muhammad, as thou didst bless Abraham and his followers. And O Allah, make Muhammad successful and the true followers of Muhammad, as thou didst make Abraham and his followers. For surely thy praiseworthy and magnifying thy this. In the name of Allah, the Magnificent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is a divine servant and messenger. And I further bear witness to the divine reminder and warning in our midst in these troubled times, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. This in their names I greet you with the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. How's the beloved family of God doing today? Praise to Allah. First of all, I'd like to welcome you to your town hall meeting. So give yourselves a rousing round of applause. You are in for a mighty, mighty treat tonight, but a very, very serious treat at that. And we know that the time that we're living in, you have to agree with me that we need some serious training, some serious teaching, and some serious understanding. And you're going to get just that tonight. We have an awesome, awesome panel of professionals and experts that's going to come before you. First, I'd like to do a little bit of housekeeping. For those of you who have cell phones, please put your cell phones on vibrate, because we want to hear every word that our panelists and our guests have to say to us today. All right, first I'm going to start by introducing our panelists. First, we have our good brother Kamola Muhammad here to my left. Kamola Muhammad is, I've known him for quite some time, and he's been a big brother and like a father to me. He's done a lot of work in the community with the youth. He's worked in the Department of Corrections for over 20 years. So he has a very, very good understanding with dealing with our young people on the street and dealing with our young people behind bars. He's also a Vietnam veteran, and he understands that there's a serious mission that we have to save our young people and to save our community. So let's give Brother Kamola Muhammad a round of applause. All right, next we have Brother Brian Muhammad. Our brother's here to my right. Please raise your hand, Brother Brian Muhammad, so everyone can know who you are. Brother Brian Muhammad, he is a Chief Battalion Medical Officer for the Berkeley Fire District, and he has worked in that position for quite some time. I want to read a few more things about Brother Brian. But Brother Brian is a very diligent brother. He's a hard-working brother. He also works with the Nation of Islam and in the Nation of Islam. He has a serious background leadership of the Honorable Mayor Gordon Porcher. He also has held an administrative and adjunct professorship at the College of Business at Chicago State University. Also, Brother Shafiq was a guest to President Bill Clinton at the White House in 1996. So let's give our Brother Shafiq and Brother Brian. I have more information about my Brother Brian. I just got to roll in. So please bear with me. Also, we have Brother Rory. Muhammad, please show us, raise your hand, Brother Rory. Brother Rory is a strong brother. I've known him for quite some time as well. He's a postal supervisor. And it's a very serious position. A lot of people may take the postal office for granted, but that's your communications. So Brother Rory tonight is going to give us some information concerning that. He's been in the nation of Islam for quite some time, working with our youth in the community. And when I say he's a stern and serious brother, you just look at him. You see what I mean? All right. Also, next we have our sister, Faye Vaughn. She is a CMT. She's a CMT, a certified medication technician. So she has an extensive background with care and nursing and things in that field. So she's going to bring us also some very, very powerful information. Next, we have our brother. Let's give our sister and Brother Robert. Next, we have another brother that brings a lot of skills to the table, Brother Ron Moore. And I met Brother Ron Moore at the National Society of Black Engineers. He is one of the chairmen for the National Society of Black Engineers. And for reading his resume, I wanted to put my resume away. No, I'm just talking. But Brother Ron has an extensive knowledge of engineering, which is something that is very, very necessary for the time that we're living. So let's give our Brother Ron a round of applause. Everyone on this panel has a very long resume. I can't read everything, but I just want you to know these are very serious technical fields, okay? That is very necessary when it comes to emergency management. We also have Sister Janice Muhammad at the end of the table, and she is an educator. She works extensively with our youth, and I watch her running around here, shaking her head and doing what she got to do, but she takes care of business. So let's give Sister Janice a round of applause. We also want to give her and her husband a big round of applause for allowing us to use this beautiful, beautiful facilities today. You look around, you see that it's very well kept. So that tells you something about our brother and our sister. We have other panelists that will be arriving and we'll mention it. With that being said, there's a lot of traffic and whatnot. Our special guest that's here today, Sister Aurelia Muhammad, who is an international disaster management instructor. And she is, when I first met her, maybe over 10 years ago, and she scared the hell out of me. I'm going to tell you, when she got to talking about disasters and things like that, it will make you think. It will make you want to do something about it. And she's worked extensively on a lot of emergency management situations, Hurricane Katrina, the LA riots, and the list goes on and on and on. But I'll let her get deeper into that, because I'm going to take a seat myself, and we're going to bring her on. Let's bring her on with a rising.
Thank you. First, in the name of Allah, in the name of I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. First of all, I want to thank Sister Janice for using so for opening up her building to us today. And this sister here has trained her students, she's trained parents, and plus she has trained with the community. So in this area, it's offering classes for over, I'm not going to age myself, but I've been working with her children starting from age 2 and up, training them in this community for over 15 years now. Even when the school district here said they wish that their schools in St. Louis had one. It's such a good plan what as her school did, just from our training. But first, just let me say this, that all of this training, training with the Red Cross, and even training with with the United Nations, and the militaries, and governors, and generals, and, head of states. All of that is fine and dandy. But let me tell you something. The best training that I received from the time that I have been a little child was from the most honorable Elijah. I have to give him, that credit. That's where I got it from. But unfortunately, these black folks, not until we have the credentials from these other agencies, you won't listen to us. Back in the day, I'm sure in the 60s, everybody was like, you Muslims are paranoid. Y'all always preparing for the end of the world. Now, guess what? Everybody is preparing for the end of the world. It's called getready.gov. Do you have your plan? We're not coming to save you. You're on your own. Hurricane Katrina, am I right or am I wrong? Don't call us. Shelter in place. Basically, stay home and don't call us. Okay? So, today, this evening, considering what's happening here in this city and in the state and all over, this is going to be, a serious town hall meeting. Okay? And first of all, do we have anyone here from the city of emergency management, which we invited them, extended an open invitation to your city officials in the area of emergency management. St. Louis County, do we have anybody here present? They were invited from the Office of Emergency Management, which by federal law, they have to conduct town hall meetings like this and show up when you call. It's under the federal grant. They're getting millions of dollars to teach you what we're teaching up here for free. It's actually in their budget, by the way. Am I right? Those who have been in the city, they're getting millions of dollars. Oh, guess what? I showed up today to talk to your director of emergency management out of a professional courtesy. Can I get a witness? Brother Paul, did we not show up there? And I talked to him face to face on exactly what we were doing. This is no secret. We're not hiding anything. And I told him, you have a federal grant saying that you are supposed to be present for community-based disaster education. Literally, that's where the bulk of your money comes from. Will you be present or will you send a representative? No. Well, he did too. I said, okay, can you give us some pamphlets or something? You're going to have to justify your existence on the planet and just get kind of done that. So he gave these pamphlets from the state of Missouri that they spent their money on, your millions of dollars to tell you how to get ready. But how many of us really read? How many of you have ever seen this pamphlet? Has it come to your door? Why does it take somebody coming from 3,000 miles away in Arizona to come to St. Louis to tell your emergency management people to give you what you need? Doesn't make any sense. Once again, I sent you an invitation. We've been so busy for the past 3 months, we have issues. I understand that you also have issues of a 10.5 earthquake nipping at your heels. They're not preparing for the riots. The riots, they got this. The protesters, they got this. They can sit performance then, right? Lock down the place. They could send somebody in with Ebola and put it under quarantine, and that was squash the violence. I'm sorry, but it's real if you just want to talk about it. Okay, but now this earthquake, I had a nice conversation. I said, well, that's why it's working. Your bridges are going to be down. You're going to have chemical releases here, correct? Then you're going to have the looting. You haven't seen looting until you have one whole city full of people with no food, no water, and no iPhone for 3 days and no power. We're going to lose their minds. Starting with your children, oh my God, I can't get that. We got to go to the store for some batteries. Oh, that's right, because iPhone don't use batteries. But anyway, I mean, we're going to have to look at some serious business here. And now, one thing about this bill is it's really all about your team, not your individual, not me. It's all about, number one, your schools. We have somebody who's representing schools. Why? This is where your children is at. In China, I believe it was 2 years ago, China had a very big earthquake. This brother is from the Society it's a black engineers probably. They studied it as a case study. All of the schools collapsed, remember? It was a case study. Killed thousands, I think hundreds of thousands of children in China because their schools weren't up to code. Well, maybe he can talk about our codes are not up to earthquake codes because they're old buildings, but that's a whole other thing. I mean, with that, all our engineers have to deal with when they rebuild St. Louis, because it is coming, unfortunately. Your city will have to be rebuilt, not from riots, but from that 10.5 earthquake. Hate to tell you. Unfortunately, it's a reality. Okay, next, yeah. This brother here, you're the fire?
Yes, ma'am, for the fire.
Okay, fire department. Well, people don't know. You need your fires because guess what? During earthquakes, during the Northern earthquake, when you're going to have a lot of fires are going to break out. Am I right? You have a lot of gas tanks and you have a lot of companies storing chemicals that you know nothing about. But guess what? Your fire department, he is supposed to keep the plans on every company that has chemicals or any hazard in your community. Those plans are supposed to be filed with this gentleman, right here, with their fire department. We know why, because if they don't, you're going to have a hazmat situation where we don't have hazmat and it's very expensive. And the city, because they're using all their emergency fund money for the riots, don't have it. So now you're exposed just from that situation. Am I right or am I wrong, sir? Now, guys have no hazardous people or no search and rescue because they've exhausted the money for that. Okay, but anyway, he didn't talk into that more. This is right here, very important. Disasters, people think, oh, disasters, we're all going to hold hands, oh, it's so beautiful. No, it's not, it costs money. Everything is free. Am I right? So your city manager, he was the city manager for East St. Louis. He worked on the 1993 floods. How many people can remember those that may be old enough was here in 1993? You had 8 states underwater. Literally. Gore flew in at the time Clinton was the president. This brother worked with them, but guess what? East St. Louis wasn't hit. But yet, well, there's things that happen behind the scenes on disasters. Where brothers like him, he has to make those crews work. But there's nothing getting done. Nobody's moving. I don't care what they say, and the Red Cross and FEMA's not coming because he has to handle that first at that local level. You have to deal with these money man and the voice of reason when it comes down to report his name. Okay, this brother right here, He works with you. Okay, young people, let me tell you something about disasters in young people. I love working with young people. We're offering this training here. But guess what? You can bring your children with you. This is the only training, and sister can bear witness, that I train your children at the same level as I will your college students and your elders. You cross-train. You do not leave your children at home while you go work on a disaster. During Katrina, it happened, and whatever, people lost their own families. Police officers, right? Firemen came home and they owned one house. Gone families wiped off the face of the map. What did those police officers do? They went in their pocket, pulled out their gun, and blew their brains out. So now you're having suicide among your response workers because they were out there saving the world and they didn't think about their family first. I don't care what, you don't save anyone first before you take care of your family. Didn't Jesus say charity starts at home? That's what I thought. Okay. So let's look at that one too. Next thing. And so young people, something else, during Haiti, during Katrina, did you notice something? Young people survived. The young survived and the elderly. What is it that happens during disasters that your people between the ages of, we can say maybe between the ages of 22 and maybe 50 all get killed, but yet you survive? Young people, what is it that makes children survive? And elders, not elders about 60 or 70, we're talking about elders 80s and 90s. Did you notice those are the ones who survived Katrina? And these young children, so young, is one that we have to have you. Okay, so the next is she's a long-term care and also a certified medical technician. Very important. Why? We really don't need doctors. Doctors need a staff. What good is it? Doctors are great, but doctors need that hospital. They have to have, this whole support system. But yet, the people at the bottom do the work. Your long-term people, it's the CNAs, it's the people who clean up behind them because they have to keep clean of their big diseases, and the people who give the medication. We have a lot of people on medication, correct? We have our children, we have our older people, we have diabetes, we have heart problems, we have prostate problems, we have children who are on asthma, right? How many, just in this room, how many of you know someone who has diabetes in this room close to you? How many people do you know who have asthma? Okay, how many of you who are not with diabetics keep with diabetic monitor in their kit? Because you never know who you're going to have to help. This is about not just being ready for yourself, but your neighbor, your city, your county, your state, and then eventually your nation. We have to stop thinking that it's just us in this bottle and then we're going to survive. I have my food, and if they come get me, it's one, I'm going to take them out. It doesn't go like that. It's bigger than that. So after Hurricane Katrina, Minister Farrakhan, he was called by your Black Congressional Caucus, who wanted to do something. Why is it Black people don't know anything? We need to get training, but it costs millions of dollars, and guess what? We're not going to give you no money But yet, we need your help, Bear Camp. But publicly, we can't deal with you. FEMA publicly can't deal with us. Homeland Security can't, but privately, look, we don't have it, we gonna do it, can you all work it out, and then we can coordinate together. Red Cross, can we work with you? We just want to date, not marry you. Their words, not mine. They want to deal with us, but they want to deal with us behind the door like the listeners. Not like a wife. Excuse my analogy there, but everything is real. And so we said, look, Mr. Parker, he said, fine, we'll do it, but we need somebody who's going to be trained to handle, to actually go out and train, not just your cities, your schools, your ex-offenders. You got to go train your doctors, you got to go train your professional people, you got to go to your profits, to your non-profits, to your governments who only have the money to train their own people. So I get a call. Sister Reddy, what are you doing? Because you can't send anybody. Will you do this? Not just in one city, but throughout the United States. What the heck? People who's in this field know every emergency management department in the United States was started by a volunteer. Those who have the experience, can you put your hand in every white city? Their emergency management department. So was it started by paid staff or was it started by volunteer? Say it again? Volunteer. Anybody else? Was it started by paid staff or was it started by volunteer? These were white folks who was willing to give up 6 figures. That's how much I would have paid if Congress was willing to pay. 6 figures. To say, train your community, train your people, go talk to, or black folks is like, I don't think so, I'm getting paid. Not. We're not going to do it. We're just, no. But they have done it, and now they're excellent. Emergency management, every last one throughout the United States, I know because I cross-trained with the guys, all volunteers. So we were asking, can we sing for our community? No problem. Somebody has to fall on their sword. Okay, so back to the sister, as I was saying. We need her because medicals. When you have a disaster, just look what happened during Katrina. People didn't have their medications. People went into diabetic coma because they didn't have insulin. Children died because they didn't have their inhalers. Am I right or wrong? People didn't have their high blood pressure medicine. They were so stressed out they popped vessels. You have people who have seizures who need their medications. So this is something, and dialysis, we don't think about how many of us know somebody who's on dialysis or who have had a kidney transplant. He's right in our family. What are they going to do? They want all the powers out. You can't get them to dialysis. You're going to have to carefully watch them die and make sure it's humane. Everything is real. Humanely, or you're going to have some type of plan. You're going to have those portable kidney machines, which they do have now. Do they not? Because my niece has one. She walks around. She does her own dialysis at home on her own machine. She has all of her medication. It's very expensive to do, but it can be done. Maybe we might need 3 or 4 other machines, set up certain ones, but we're going to have our own units all over. So really, these are the things that we're not thinking about. These are the things, because we're too busy spending money on $650 iPhone. I want the latest iPhone Plus. That's $1,000. I want those latest shoes. Don't give me all those shoes like the next woman. I'm too busy looking for a vacation. I don't like shoes that much. I really have candy jars. Been a farm and a cow, and I can do something with him, and maybe I can make a coat out of it later. Right. But anyway, okay. And so this is why she's very important, not the one up here, but the one who's in the highways and the byways. Okay, the next brother we have here. Go corrections. I've cross-trained with more than 4 corrections. How many of us in here know somebody or close family member in prison? One hand, two hands. Uh-oh, hands up, don't shoot. Sorry, I had to go there. Okay, anyway, so, okay. We all know somebody in prison. Did you know during Katrina, many of them died in disasters? They left their fear. You have correction officers. They have families. They really don't get paid that much money. You know that, right? They also only have so much food for so many days in corrections. Am I right? They might bring that food in weekly, every 3 days. You have thousands of people, but also are these old prisons structurally sound in a disaster? Back to your engineer. These are questions right, these are things that you can answer. Okay, so if you have a collapse and you know 90% is black, who's going to search and rescue for them? That's somebody saying. So now we have millions of people throughout this country in these jails. What kind of disaster? What are they going to do? Just let them starve to death? Well, guess what? The blessing to that is guess who they use in disasters. Our best trained disaster specialists come from the prisons. Here's why. Do you know they use them to fight on fires? Am I right? Some of your best firefighters come to prisons. They used them during the sandbagging in 93, am I right? They saved how many white towns? Black prisoners, inmates in Missouri. Saved many, did they not? Many white towns here in Missouri from sandbagging. Right? BP oil spill. What do you think cleaned up the oil spill? Prisoners. But unfortunately, they didn't give them the equipment they needed. They didn't have to pay some guy who normally would make $200 an hour. They paid the prisoner 25 cents, and the state got the $200 an hour. I don't think you all know that. Am I right or am I wrong? They lease out the work in disasters. Who do you think cleaned up Katrina? Who do you think moved on the rubble? Prisoners. But yet, once they get out of prison, have served their time, they try to get a job in the area of emergency management or firefighter. Can they do it? No. You can't even volunteer for the Red Cross program. Am I right? But yet, they can only work on disasters, which is a big deal in the area of emergency management, only if they're in prison. Unbelievable, isn't it? But they cannot compete for the jobs. But yet, if they work on disasters, it will take time off their prison sentence. A lot of us don't know that. They can get back to the community. But what organizations can they go to? The Red Cross will say, no, you can't come here because you have a record. Your Office of Emergency Management, oh no, your CERT, Community Emergency Response Teams. How many people know who those are? Anybody know who this is? All right, so talk about that. That was a community-based program. It's basically, they're a glorified first aid team. Am I right or am I wrong? They're a glorified first aid team that actually came out of Los Angeles, California, after the Los Angeles riots. It was started by this black fireman who was fired, by the way, after they stole this program. And now every state, including Missouri, get millions of dollars and all these white instructors come in and teach it to the suburbs. CERT was never meant for that. It was always meant to be in the inner city among the hood so they could take care, because at that time, the firefighters, nor would the police officer or even rescuers would go into the black community. It's now a multi-million-dollar program ran out of the police departments. That is not in the community. Am I right, sir? Or am I wrong? And all their struggles, it was never meant to be that way. They took the program from the brother, fired him, and plus wouldn't even give him unemployment. By the way, that's where your CERT came from. That's the word of wisdom. I wasn't gonna just, sing in the background. Okay, so that brings us to your fire marshal, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Fire marshal, you can't move without that fire marshal. Because why? One, you're going to have buildings, maybe shelter. For example, this is big excellent shelter. She could fit at least 150 to 200 people if you had to sleep on the floor. So during a disaster scenario, everybody's house was what he wanted. Well, this fire marshal, you need him to actually come in to make sure to see if it's safe. Because if we have some aftershocks, if there's flaps in the building, if there's any damages, well, what good is using the building because everybody would die out there. And then you would have to, fire marshal, you would have to talk to the engineer to make sure it's engineerally sound, to look at the history of the building. So everybody up here, all of us works together. What is my job? I'm your coordinator. I get everybody together. I talk to my guy. I'm here today. I went to your county city emergency manager. I went to the mayor of East St. Louis today. He said, look, I'm here. Y'all need to get it together. You're going to need your community. They're bringing me in when technically you really got the budget. You should have been bringing in because this is what federally you're getting paid for. But that's okay. The community knows it. You have other issues with the riots. You're spending all this money. So they decided to do for self. This is what white communities do. Asian communities, they don't wait for them. So actually, now with everybody up here, all these presidents, Brother Paul decided, hey, we're going to have to do this for our communities. Because honestly, it's their responsibility because you have a disaster management organization that's been in the community for over 80 years. And that is the nation. Some people don't know that because we have it in-house. But yet, guess what? Every organization has one. The Southern Baptist Convention is true. They do all the feeding. And the Mormons, how many people here know about the Mormons? The Mormons, how many people raise their hand? Did you know the Mormons have one of the best disaster preparedness programs than any religious organization? Caucasian. No, did you know that? They're required. Every Mormon woman has to can for her family. Did you know that? Everybody know what canning is? Anybody who don't know what it is? Anybody who don't know what canning in a jar is? Okay. Well, no, it's true. We used to. I know, sisters. We don't have time for women. I know. We gotta work. We don't have time for this. We gotta take care of kids. Oh my God, this. But yet, canning, if you can, you don't have to worry about if you get fired. You get food stamps because you already have food. That's what canning is. Translation. I already canned. I canned for my husband, and I got married 10 years ago. I've already cooked 10 years ago. I have already canned for my babies. I already made my baby food 10 years ago. More than that, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I've been canning from day one. I've already canned for my neighbors. I've already canned for the emergency response workers. You know what? Canned goods last up to 40 years with no refrigeration. You can lose power tomorrow and you still get it. I like bread. I like stuff like that. People, Cheerios, I do bean soup, I love the salsas. I love my jams and my jellies and desserts. How many of you have gone to the store to buy just some Smuckers? You see, some like real good cameras at $4 a jar for this big anyway. Honestly, come on. I can't this already. This is already done. So we have to get back to basics. How many of you, raise your hand, know about canning? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, you know about it. Okay. How many of you have canned goods in your house? At least one case. At least one case of bean soup. Yeah. Okay. How many have 2 cases? At least 2 cases. How many people have 3? Okay? Now, these 3 people in here might have to feed this whole neighborhood. How many people have at least 50 cases? or more came, 50 cases or more. I probably have more than that. Because you can't do this work and then not walk the walk. You can have candy parties. We have every other kind of party. Bad midnight party. I'm mad at her night party. Talk about your girlfriend party. You know how it goes. But we don't have candy parties. I don't have candy parties. Everybody come over, have some stuff, some chips, some. Everybody start chopping vegetables. They're like, what is this? Some dogs lay down everything. We're having a party. Where's the party? The party's right there at the chopping block. The music is going. You go in the Marvin Gaye Temptations and it's on. So anyway, so I'm going to introduce each speaker now, and I'm going to let you go. But yet is tomorrow we will be having a training from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. called Organizing Search and Rescue Teams. Why do I say organizing? Because during Katrina, we had people from all over the world, all types of teams, who wanted to come in and help us. They had their own money. They were staying their own way. I mean, this is what these troops do. These are countries and governments with billions of dollars. They send their teams out. What do we need? They will pay for their own hotel, pay on food, their own plane tickets coming from around the world. But yet you had groups like the Red Cross. No, just send us your money. They're like, no, we're not doing it. You had all these other groups who was coordinating with them because we wasn't organized enough as a group to say, yes, you can go through certain protocols. So people couldn't even come in to help us. Teams with everything, with the $1 and the resources. But also we lacked the training, and all of them said that. Where is your main person in training? It's a protocol. You have to know international protocol. You have to know United Nations protocol. You got to know governments. You have to know who to call. You have to get things done. You have a guy right here who can do that. What you see after all this is making some phone calls. You have your fire people. There's the international fire marshals. He could have got search and rescue. All you have to do, am I right? Make a call. Deal with his colleagues. This is how we work. This is all about. I hate to say it. This field is not what you know. It's who you know. They never had a degree program in emergency management when I was coming up. It came from experience. I worked on the Northridge earthquakes. Actually, graduated from Northridge Junior High. With the Malibu fires, Hurricane Floyd, you might remember Hurricane Floyd, that was the first black town destroyed by that hurricane. How many people remember Floyd got hit in 1999? Getting wiped out. The very first black town ever built by slaves. Princeville, you all don't remember all the money Michael Jordan, everybody was giving millions, and he finally remember that. Sister, remember it. The first black town, you probably remember Princeville. You all remember we had major disasters. You all just remember Katrina because it was public. You don't remember Princeville. You don't remember Northridge. You don't remember the Baldwin Hills fires in California. We got hit in California. How about Superstorm Sandy? Superstorm Sandy did a lot of damage to that coast. They did not even do their infrastructure, my God, to their railroad system. All they need now is one little, 648 and police. In New York is what I'm saying. New Jersey. These are major cities that we have families in. You all will have to be caught up to them. Once again, first, take care of your family. Next, your neighborhood. Next, your city, your county, your state, and then it's going to be federal and then international. Just look at Haiti. Just look at all of the international disasters. We sit and watch the TV and we give a few dollars, but yet, who do you see? Angelina Jolie up there holding your black babies. What's wrong with you? Sally Struthers did that in the 70s when we only had 3 channels. I mean, how many people you remember what I'm talking about? Sally Struthers. Every time you always see, look at these poor African babies sending us money. Matt Damon, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, all of us are sitting. What is that about? We don't know nothing about disaster management. We can't sit up there and do international affairs. your national parks. They weren't meant to actually do all this crowd control. Their main job actually is, guess what? Disaster relief. They're actually trained more in that than they are in crowd control. Am I right or am I wrong? That's really their job. People used to work on that too. Their job isn't to quote keep the peace. They go overseas for that kind of. So you all have something coming to you here. Not just you, I mean all of us. Because when God gets angry, He brings disasters. And unfortunately, we just get it along with the unjust. Disasters are the great equalizers. Am I right? Okay, what took out Pharaoh? It was not some army or, all the rioting children of Israel. It was the plagues, it was the flood, it was the lights. Remember, it was the bloods of the crimson? Sorry, that was the blood of lights. So maybe the lights probably was the game. But anyway, they remember, and then it was the pestilence. Remember, you had a problem with beetles and pestilence around here in the trees, right? You had a problem, and now with the flooding, what do you call it? The parting of the Red Sea, that was just a tsunami. Right. Abraham, Sodom and Gomorrah, that was a volcano eruption. Haven't they been talking about all the volcanoes going off? Right. You notice all the dead birds in the air, all the dead frogs. What do you think all of this? Right. So this is a problem. There used to be this old commercial called "Don't Mess with Mother Nature." And people don't know, guess what brought down the Soviet Union? It wasn't that arms race. It was the Armenian earthquake that brought down the Soviet Union. What do you think brought down Rome? All of you should get this movie called Pompeii. Have you heard of the movie called Pompeii? Well, Pompeii was destroyed after they killed a slave, a black slave. This was one of the richest countries in Rome. All of their senators, it was big. But what happened with Pompeii was they killed this black slave unjustly. And with the volcanic eruption. Guess what sparked with the French Revolution? It was the Iceland volcano. That's what sparked the French Revolution. And so people in this area of disaster management, we have to know scriptures. You have to know everybody's book. Because this is the only profession that does not, we do not separate church and state. Because with the past disaster managers in history, you all call them prophets. We call them disaster managers. Abraham, Noah, Lot, all these guys are all disaster managers. So we need to study that. This is a very good secret. You all know. That's what I'm saying. This emergency management is a lot deeper than we think. We think it's, you're running the building, you're serving coffee. You're not doing that. It's a lot more. And you can say that. So, just briefly, I'm going to give everybody first, Sister Janice. She can talk about the importance of not just having your school prepared, but training as a family. You need to make sure your children, you may not see them for a week or 2 weeks. Do they have what they need in their school? If not, you need to provide it for them for a week or 2 weeks. Where are they going to go if you're stuck on one of those freeways that's going to collapse because they haven't been retrofitted? And you better pray that that flood will not be in winter. Okay, we'll start with Sister. She can come up, and then after that, we'll just go down the road. And after that, I'm done.
In the name of Allah, okay. In the name of Allah, the witness is the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his true messenger and servant, and I greet you in the words of Assalamu alaikum. As Sister Ricky mentioned, we have been doing training here for at least 15 years. She's been with us on probably 3 different occasions. This will be number 4. Because you started out actually when we were on Luke's Nine. Yes. That was our first training. She was training our small infants and small children there along with our grade school children. Then when we moved here, she came here, we had this whole auditorium filled with all of the students. She went downstairs and she trained all of the infants. And one of the things that was really significant because all the training that I received, of course, came from the Nation of Islam in terms of canning, in terms of trying to make sure that we're prepared for the disaster that we did not see at that time. Back in the late 1990s, we did canning classes here, just like we were talking about. We had a big party, a bunch of the MGT. We all got together, we cut up vegetables, and I still have cases of those goods downstairs, just in case something happens and the children are going to be on lockdown here at the school. One of the things I also appreciate is that Sister William put together a plan for us here so that we would have various levels of our building, because right now, some of you all came in the ground level, that's one level. We've got this level, we have another mezzanine level, and then we have a level above this. So each one of those levels has been designated for specific designations to support what may come if we have to become a shelter. And if indeed we have people who are indigent, people who can't get around, all of those things that have been laid out by her, which was really profound. One of the things that we do here is that we have put together packs or kits for each one of the children, from the infants all the way through our grade school, so that in case we have a disaster, they can go to the kit, put the kit on the back, and they've got all of their supplies in that kit, from toilet paper to a coloring book with crayons, for whether you're a preteen female or whether or not you're male. So you've got specific designations depending on your age group. So the children have those things. We also give the children the state requires that we do disaster drills once every 2 to 3 months. And what we do here is that every week I'm trying to keep the children abreast of things that they're supposed to do. So I have films and videos and DVDs that I show them to talk about disaster and how you can handle whether it's a tornado, whether it's an earthquake, where do we go, what are our hiding points, where is it where you're not going to, because you can see this place has a lot of glass, where are you going to be in this building where you're not going to be exposed to getting cut if a heavy wind comes through. So we do have specific indicated places. We have a safe in the building. So there's places that they can be that they're going to be safe. They watch those videos and try to keep abreast of the things that they're supposed to be doing. However, one of the biggest challenges that we have, and I feel that I have, and my husband had, as administrators, is trying to help our children understand what following instructions are. Our children don't follow the words that are given to them by their parents, by their administrators. If somebody says stop, I tell them it's like freeze. I said, you don't talk about frozen. I was thinking this Frozen song from the movie. I said, well, this freeze, it means freeze. You stop. Everything stops at that moment. And they are still not quite as quick to respond like I would like them to. Because in case of a disaster, Sister Williams said, wife and children end up seeming to be the ones to survive. They can input all of that information in their heads. They move quick. They've got a lot of energy. That's why they survive. Okay? They don't have years of excess fat and all the kinds of things on there that we do. So when they hear something, the first thing they do is they turn around and they start moving. It's like my mother used to say, if somebody was kind of acting with a gun, her mother used to tell her it's better to say, there she goes than there she lies. So, you know, you just got to be agile, and that's how children are. They hear noise, they quickly move. Sometimes we stand around and try to figure out where the noise came from. And by that time, we might, you know, some of us relax on it. So, one of the things, as I said, the biggest thing is, and I'm saying that to the audience because all of you, most of you all have children, I see children in the audience. And I want you all to understand that when we're giving you all instructions, it is for your betterment. It is not for your demise. It's not that we're trying to be oppressive or that we're trying to be oppressive. It is that we are trying to train your minds to respond to our voices and our words, because at times when we say be quiet, it may be like Anne Frank. You had to be quiet so that the enemy didn't come after you. So that you did not know where you were. How do you think Harriet Tubman got all those people across the country and ended from slavery to freedom? She didn't do that just by saying, okay, y'all can do your own thing, just follow me, and you can talk, and you can jump, everybody had to be in sequence. You had to be together. You had to be together in mind, spirit, and body. And so our children, parents, you're going to have to get them together to understand that. This is no game. This is no joke. I can't move as fast as I used to be, but the children around here are a little surprised that I move as quick as I do. Because I'll say something and they don't move. I'm acting so quick. They're like, where'd she come from? You know, because I just have that extra burst of energy that just hits me. But anyway, I just wanted to indicate that we are prepared here. We're trying to become even better prepared as time goes on because we are in school, because we do not get federal funding, because we do not get funds necessarily from a religious organization or whatever for our security and constant ongoing affairs. We have to rely on tuition, and that takes care of overhead and takes care of salaries of the teachers. So that's basically it, salaries of our teachers. And to say administrators, it's teachers. And I am a teacher, but I'm considered an administrator, so I'm not in that group. So I don't get paid. Ms. Muhammad doesn't get paid. Okay? so it's just to keep what we have here running, operating, and available to the community. Muhammad Islamic Academy is available here for our community. This is not just isolated. This is their thing. This is our thing. This is a community thing. It has always been that way. It will always be that way, whether you here or I are still in the physical form. So I just wanted to let you know that we're working on it. We're trying to get more supplies, because there's so many things. I've gone to workshops like Disaster Means Business at St. Louis U, all day long disaster program. White folks aren't playing. I mean, they talk about mitigation. They've got FEMA. They've got all these other organizations set up, Red Cross, but they have everything there for survival. They tell you how you can have these slides and come down the steps in case somebody gets injured. You can just slide on down the steps. But those things cost money. AEDs cost money. They're not cheap. And for us to be able to have those things, I'd like to have one on every floor. But I think the cheapest one at this point is about $750. They were like $2,200 initially when they came out. So it's a lot of expense to try to make your place a place where if somebody had a heart attack, something of critical injury that you can handle. But we're trying to do our best to make sure that our students are prepared, as well as our staff. Our staff get their CPR classes and their first aid classes to make sure that they're up to date on what to do with our students. So I'm going to leave you. If there are any questions, I guess we'll leave that for the end. And then we'll go on to Brother Moore.
Real brief with my comments. One thing I do have the pleasure of accomplishing, I was the subunit commander for the flood of 93 for the Missouri National Guard. So I got to see a lot of that firsthand. And then we also prepared for earthquake disasters. But I think some of the booklets and some of the speakers before me have hit on some good points. Medication is a very important thing to plan ahead, especially like in Katrina. They tell you there's a hurricane coming. It's a lot different if you just wake up one morning and have an earthquake. And I know medicine can be expensive, but if you can afford it, you should always have some put aside for emergency, if nothing else, 7 days worth. One of the other things that I always tell people, if you can afford a generator, that's always a good thing to have. And always know where all your utilities are at. You might have to cut off your power, you might have to cut off your gas, because you might start leaking. So it's always good to train everybody, and then communication is important to let everybody know if something happens, come to this location, or call this number if you can get on the internet or whatever. But it's very important to let everybody know in your family what is the central rallying point where everyone needs to be at if something happens, whether it be a mass shooting, a riot, a fire, whatever. And in these days, we live in a seasonal area here, so you respond differently if they're in the middle of winter than if it's in the middle of summer. We have probably a 1 in 100-year opportunity to have a 10.6 earthquake. We also have tornadoes, the flood of 93. And one thing I tell people, they don't realize that if you live along Hall Street, if those walls come down up there, the flood walls, they'll flood all the way back to the river. So they never tell anybody. And so that's one of the things that I've talked to someone not recently. I said, at least let people know that if the flood walls go, how far will the water rise up to their homes? And unfortunately, people in Hurricane Katrina found out the hard way. And so, some of the things that are already listed here, I'll go over some of them real quick, is if you can afford to have some small tools, some small power tools, a sawzall, have rope and chain, a 10-ton jack will come in handy if there's an earthquake. You can move a lot of material with a 10-ton jack. And I would always advise somebody, if there is an earthquake, don't go into a building unless somebody knows you're going in there. Never go into that type of situation unaccompanied or attached to a rope or letting someone know that you're in there. So I think that's about all I have. Oh, one last thing. Duct tape and plastic goes along with it. So I always have some of that in the garage or in the basement. Other than that, I will let the next guest speaker come up and speak.
In the name of Allah, the beneficent person, I bear witness there is no God but Allah. I also bear witness to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the truth exalted Christ. They left in our midst today to divine holy reminder of the most honorable and most far. Their names are people, men, women, this classroom this evening, 3 words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. I will be brief as well. My name is Brian, and I work for a fire department in St. Louis County. Northeast Fire Department, and I serve as the medical officer for the fire district. And as the medical officer, my role basically is to make sure that the EMS services provided by the fire department, we cover 16, 17 cities in St. Louis County, that the ambulances, the personnel on the ambulances, on the fire trucks, they are properly trained, properly staffed. But why is that important with regards to any type of natural disaster? Basically, from what I've been hearing this evening, it's about communication. Well, what do you mean communication? It's EMS. Well, any type of natural disaster, the fire department's not going to be able to get to your home. Just be honest. We are teaching the residents in our district area shelter in place for at least 3 days, 72 hours. Well, you pay taxes, so we're public servants. Why shouldn't we have to rely on the fire department? I think in my fire district, we got 17, 16 cities, tens of thousands of people. At any given moment, the maximum number of people that we have on staff in a 24-hour period is 9. 2 ambulances, 1 fire truck. Now, that's St. Louis County. That's just a small section in St. Louis County. In St. Louis City, for those of you all who live in St. Louis City, at best, the most ambulances that you'll have on duty in a 24-hour period is 12. Fire stations closing down in St. Louis City because of budget cuts. Well, how does that equate over on East St. Louis? Stop and think about it. How many fire departments do you have? How many firehouses do you have that are shut down in East St. Louis? This information is very, very valuable, but it's hidden. We don't know about it. The CERT programs are hidden. We don't take advantage of it. The CPR programs that are out there, we as a people, we don't take advantage of it. Well, what does emergency medicine have to do with the disaster? Well, it's real simple. You have to fend for yourself for at least 72 hours. How are you going to treat yourself? How are you going to treat your families? How are you going to treat your neighbors, the people in your community? This information is very, very important. So that's why it's very important to have the emergency tools at your house, to know how to shut off your gas, to know how to bandage a wound, apply basic first aid. You don't have to get advanced along the lines of starting an IV or anything like that, but just basic emergency medicine, how to stop bleeding, how to splint an injury, how to do CPR. Because a lot of us, we have elders in our family. And the stress from a natural disaster takes a toll on us physically. It doesn't make a difference how young you are. It's going to take a toll on us all physically. So we have to not only prepare our minds spiritually, physically, and emotionally, get prepared for the natural disaster that's going to happen. It's not an if, it's just when. Now, one other thing in regards to EMS, have to be able to recognize any particular type of serious life threats. We're talking about diabetics, we're talking about people with high blood pressure. The gentleman just said, have some medication on hand for at least about a week, because you're not going to be able to get to the hospital. You're not going to be able to pick up that phone and call 911. For anyone in this room who's ever tried to get a taxi in a snowstorm in St. Louis, look at that. Pick up that phone, you call Yellow Cab, you call Alley Cab, it's busy. You pick up the phone, you call 911, you're going to overwhelm the dispatchers. They're not going to come. At our fire department, and Brother will be able to elaborate, we have training. Our fire chief is very proactive with regards to allowing us to go to specialized training classes. It's not offered in our community. It's offered in the predominantly white communities. Those firefighters out there in Chesterfield, what's called Monarch now, Creve Coeur, they're preparing for this. At our fire department, we are preparing for this. We're attending classes not in St. Louis City, not in St. Louis County. We're going 4 hours away, Branson, Missouri. Going down there, learning how to do search and rescue, learning how to take a building off of someone, learning how to go in and stabilize the building so we can extract those injured people out of those buildings. This is real. This is nothing to joke about. This is very, very serious. Everyone should at least be the representative of their family. If it starts with one individual in each family, then it moves outside to the neighborhood, then it moves outside to the community, then we'll be able to take care of our own. Because when you pick up the phone, you call 911, they're not coming. It's a proven fact, they're not coming. They will be dispatched as best they can. They're not going to come to our community. So understand it's very important as individuals, as parents, as family members, we have to take care of our own. And tonight, hopefully, starts the way where we all can learn as a family, and we have to learn to work together. So I appreciate the time that I was given, and God continue to bless us all. I just want to let you know. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful, Master of this day of judgment, Thee do we serve, and Thee alone do we beseech for help. Guide us along the straight path, the path of those on whom Thou hast bestowed Thy grace, those whose portion is not wrath, and who go not astray. I can never thank Allah enough, who came in the person of Master Farah Muhammad, who raised the Jesus of our day, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we definitely cannot thank Allah enough and His Messenger for leaving us a comforter and a reminder, and who has issued the final call to black people here in America and throughout the world. Emergency planning and preparation for those of us who have been in the Nation of Islam. We've been going through that exercise for years. How to eat to live. Message to the black man. Our Savior has arrived. Allah has been preparing us for this day. But before I go into a few of my other comments, I just want to thank Brother Paul Muhammad for bringing this event to us. I also want to thank Sister Muhammad, all Muhammad. You know and I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your schedule to come and be with us this evening. Because you know Friday night is party night. And a lot of our folks still have not understood the hour. It is written in the book of Matthew, 24th chapter, in the King James Bible. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of war. See that you be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrow. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not seen since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. But that day and hour knoweth no man, for in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Watch, therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord shall come. We are living in an era of economic upheaval, superstorms, record-breaking droughts and floods, international terrorism, global food shortages, and increasingly destructive earthquakes. It appears quite likely that at some point in the not too distant future, many of us will experience significant disruptions in central services, basic utilities such as electricity, and access to whatever you desire from local stores. Remember, when electricity stops flowing, furnaces, cash registers, gasoline pumps, refrigerators, elevators, phones, and air air conditioners all stopped working, except for the rare facilities that are hooked up to a backup source of power. Without gas and electricity, most municipal water treatment and waste removal systems will soon shut down. And emergency medical services are usually quite limited. If the power goes out with temperatures and before freezing, we in trouble. Today more than ever, the need for disaster readiness and preparedness is apparent to those who have opened their eyes to reality and given thought to just how fragile modern society has become. As our technology becomes more complex and we become more and more dependent upon it, any disruption of the complex lifestyle we have built can have consequences far more severe than mere inconvenience. Such disruptions can range from local to regional or beyond, and can be caused by any number of natural or man-made events, from catastrophic storms or geological disturbances to terror, attack, or widespread civil unrest. Brothers and sisters, we can go through all of the mechanics of emergency preparedness, but the key to our survival is spiritual. Many times I have discussions with my wife about the things that's happening in the world. And on occasion, she gets a little comfortable, thinking that everything is going to be all right if an emergency happens. She got a little 72-hour packed in the trunk of our car. We got the little canned goods, all in a little storage place. We got our little medicine. We got all that happening. And I said, baby, what happens if the earthquake hit and you're on the highway? Or that bridge gives out and that car hits the Mississippi River? Or your phone goes out? All of the training that you have gone through means nothing if you have not been encased in the mercy and the beneficence of Allah. Allah is going to be one whole card that we as black people got, if we listen. Brother Paul will attest, when they had the Ferguson thing, he and I was in constant conversation. Because many of the brothers and sisters who are here, some of you are probably around my age. I wouldn't tell what that is. And I was telling Brother Paul and sharing with him about what was going on out there in Ferguson. And he was excited. The cameras was out there. Everybody had their hands up, marching. They had their tents. They spent the night out there. And I asked Brother Paul, I said, have y'all thought about where you going to get your water to drink while you're in that tent? How are you going to feed yourself? Because if I take your food away from you, your revolution is over. If I take your water away from you, your revolution is over. I don't need to shoot you. Because your revolution will end for a man or woman to get a cup of water or some food in their stomach. So I said, Brother Paul, come on over to my house and let me give you some money to go to the store, to Sam's or somewhere, and get some supplies for these brothers. It's one thing to be great and excited about the move, all hands up. Don't let me comment on that. Because he will definitely accommodate you by putting your hands up. Many a night, I sat down and I cried when I think
number of you believers who have stood tall with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Some of you may not like Minister Farrakhan, but you still have tried to support him. And from the depth of my heart, on behalf of my family, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Because we need it, brothers and sisters. And that's why I'm so grateful for this sister flying from Phoenix. You know how many communities she had to fly over just to get here. That's right. But I think her flying over these is somewhat divine. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his divine comfort reminds us that the action is going to start in the center of the earth. That's right. Because that's where the heart is. That's right. That's why they got that little ark. Half white and half black. Because it symbolizes something. So again, I thank you all for being very patient with my few remarks. And I thank all of you beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow panelists here. And I thank Allah for each and every one of you all's families. And all of you all will be in my prayer. Assalamu alaikum.
There are a lot of things that go into that, a lot of calculations from the weather systems, meteorologists mostly, and a lot of geographical surveys. But there's nothing that can really stop your man. The sale of the postal products pays our salaries and also takes care of you getting mail. Certain areas that will not get mail, you can call. If you can't come to us, we'll find a way to get it to you. Those large main post offices are fallout shelters. If you're anywhere near one of those, when natural disaster strikes, that's your place of domicile until you're able to get back to your loved ones or back home. Certain parts of the Postal Service are bound to public service. A lot of us don't know that because they don't teach us that. It's something that they give in certain communities, like the rural areas. They know about the services they can get from the Postal Service. If they become without certain staple goods, they have stockpiles of these things. They don't tell us, but they are available. And all you have to do is ask. You have to actually put in a request if you are impacted by any type of natural disaster. When we got that 6 feet of snow here in St. Louis, it actually stopped mail for one day, and that was only because the mail couldn't come in. The highways were shut down, but every piece of mail that was available to be delivered got delivered. nothing stops the U.S. Navy. Nothing at all. So a lot of things go on in our communities and around us that we are oblivious to. It's only because we don't read. We don't read and we don't seek information. There are a lot of things that we can get that we do not believe we can get because we fail to ask. We're just afraid to ask. But it's cultural conditioning that keeps us in that condition. We've been taught never to look for somebody beyond ourselves for the help that we need. We have to stop thinking like that. All of you came here for a specific reason. And believe it or not, you're here because God brought you here. It's time for us as a community to codify, to come together, pool our resources, and make a reality for ourselves. This government is not going to do it for us. We went and talked to the Office of Natural Disasters. We went and even called Homeland Security. They don't have a contingency for Black Americans.
Well, they have one.
That's right. They don't have one that when they get to us, it's at the end of the line. That's right. So when the guy told us this on the phone, not to sound like I'm saying something that I don't want to talk about, but this is exactly what he said to us. We went to his office. He was frightened, and we were there. He came out nervous because he sent his emissary, his buffer, to find out what we wanted to talk to him about. We wanted to know what plans did they have in place to inform us during the time of natural disasters. So when he met the representative from the nation, he never asked her for her credentials. He only listened. She told him about the disasters and all the places that she had been to offer that type of assistance. He began to study because he could only think of a couple of things that he had actually been involved in. But he was very nervous. We asked if he could come out tonight or tomorrow and speak, and give us some type of acknowledgement that there are plans for natural disasters or natural preparedness, disaster preparedness. He said that he didn't know that they could make it. He gave us some pamphlets. That wasn't helpful. But just to say, there are things that the U.S. Postal Service offer us for those times, and we just have to go there and demand it. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am very honored to be here. And when I tell you that God does give people a warning, probably about 2 years ago, I dreamt about an earthquake. I live in South City. I live in a four-level townhouse. And God showed me. It was as if I was out of myself. I was in my office on the fourth level. And God showed me water coming from that way, coming from Broadway into my home, rolled all the way up to the fourth level. And I asked God, I said, well, God, why did you show me this? What am I supposed to do with this? And this is why I was asked by Brother Paul to sit on this panel. Because, I'm sorry. When God showed me the dream, I didn't know what to do with it. I said, well, God, what's going on? What do you want me to do with this? And Brother Paul came to me and we were just talking in general, and he invited me to come. And this is why. When I tell you God warns his people, he warns. And take heed to what he says. So I just want to give you a little information about myself. My name is Faye Hunter. I am a department head at Alexian Brothers Hospital, Alexian Brothers Nursing Home. I have been in long-term care for 20 years, and my passion is long-term care. For the most part, we're all trained in the medical field in basic evacuation and first aid care to the residents I serve. I'm yearly certified in evacuation preparedness for long-term residents. Even though I'm yearly trained, I have learned that it's not enough staff to evacuate residents. I know within my heart that there's going to be a loss of life, and that frightens me when it comes to our residents in communities, because we have the highest rate of residents in long-term care. And I think that it's very important that as family members, if you have someone that's in a long-term care facility, it's very important to talk with the talk with staff, and to help to transport your residents to a safe environment. Because we're told to evacuate the ambulation, residents that ambulate first, residents that are in wheelchairs, and the last ones to evacuate are the bedridden. I just wanted to share some stories with you, and she touched on some of those stories. In New York, Hurricane Sandy knocked out power. In Queens and Brooklyn alone, more than 24 facilities flooded. So the population already over and severe, that the general population was damp and shivered. The New York Times reported that it took at least 3 days for the fire department, the National Guard, and ambulance crews from around the country to rescue over 4,000 nursing homes and 15 adult residents. Number 2, Hurricane Katrina, 35 residents at St. Rita's Nursing Home in St. Bernard Parish drowned in their beds. And also, there were a lot of family members, they couldn't find their loved ones, and also their loved ones didn't have any medicine. So I just think that it's very important, very crucial. We as African Americans, we pool our resources together for our elderly, because our elderly are the last to be saved, if they can be saved. And that's why it's so important that you involve yourself with your family, if that's in long-term care, and make sure, if possible, designate someone that's close to the nursing home in the event that something does happen, that the family has something planned for the residents, because we're not going to be able to save anybody. And that's disheartening. In regards to fire, earthquake, that's very disheartening. So it's just important that families come together and look out for your home, because we're only allowed so much staff, and we can only move so many people. But even though we have, basic training and things like that, it takes the families to come in and say, hey, what can I do to help you all? We know that everybody's not going to be able to make it, but you need plan A, plan B, plan C. If my sister can't make it, my other sister, if she can't make it, my brother's there. So you need to put plan A to Z to make sure that it's an effective plan that work with your long-term care, your nursing home, your fire department to get your family safe. Also, I want to say, during the time of any natural disaster, there will be a minimum to no communication, so we need to know the evacuation plan of your loved one's facility. I was fortunate enough to have a slight evacuation situation. One year, one of the facilities I was working in, we had a bad thunderstorm, so all of the lights were out, so we were blessed and asking, but we still had to transport residents to another facility. So things like that do happen. You need to make sure that the nursing home has all your information, email, cell phones, job. Make sure your information is updated. That's important, because residents that we transport was about 78, and maybe about 3 or 4 we had no updated information. So we need to know before we can evacuate. If there's available phone service, we have to notify the family what's going on and where we're going. And if we don't have that information, and you come to look for your family member, you don't know, that's not our problem, because first thing we do, we try to take as many the information, we take a lot of the medical records, we try to take medicine, so we try to do as much as we can, but it goes a lot better, it helps a lot more if family members are involved. Designate family members close to the facility to assist with the evacuation of your loved ones. This allows the nursing staff to assist other residents. The main goal is to prevent the loss of life in long-term care facilities in our communities. So, as I stated, just, if you can, take time out of your schedule and visit. If you have a loved one that's in a nursing home, take time out and talk with the administrator and just ask them, what is an evacuation plan? And just make sure also, and I think this is really important, make sure when you're going to transport your family member in regards to evacuation, just make sure that you have all the necessary paperwork as far as responsible party, party who makes the decision, make sure that you have all that, because we can't release anyone to you unless we have that paperwork. It doesn't make any sense to come up there fighting and upset because you can't transport, but that's why it's important to have these things in place in the event that emergency situation happens. And so I just, this is my passion, my training, my new training. I'm going to be an administrator in training, so this is something that in my community I want to offer to my residents and their families so that we can all work together. It's coming. This is a matter of minutes. It's coming. And as a people, we never prepare. And I think this is very important that, you know, we take what we're listening here, take it, and each one teach one. Each one teach one, because the European society, they're ready. They're ready for this. We're never ready. And so I just want to thank you all for listening to what I have to say, and I just hope that the panel, everything that we've discussed on this panel, I hope it helps, and I hope that you all know that we're here because this is serious. This is no joke, you know. And I've been prepared. I don't do panic, okay, but I would buy some candles. But I've been preparing. I've been, buying extra food, tents, and things like that because I know it's coming. And like I said, God warns His people. He brought us all here for a reason. He strategically put us together for a reason. Pass this along. The next meeting we have, bring everybody. Bring them because this is important. Those Jordans you're wearing ain't gonna save you. Okay. And Michael Kors person ain't gonna save you. Okay. It's gonna take spiritual divine. And I definitely believe that with all of the prophets in the Bible, there was impending doom or impending wars. God always warned His people, and people were always blessed to get out of the way of impending danger. So you're here for a reason. So once again, I'm very honored to be on this panel. I hope what I've said, it opens up your mind because it's coming. Thank you.
In the most holy name of Allah, there is no God but Allah. You came to us in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad and raised one amongst us to be a divine living teaching God, the person of the most honorable Muhammad. When His leaving, then that leave us comfortless, but left us a divine reminder, kindness, true guidance, and the honorable minister was fair kindness, and the mighty name that reached the nation was a peace and paradise. Spoken in the tongue of our ancestors, of our son of the Lord. This is great, and you would think that you would have more people here. But Allah is not concerned with the numbers because when you turn on the ignition in your car, you're sitting on zero. You don't know nothing until you meet number one. And then once you understand number one, Allah multiplies everything else in your life. Because if He brought up more than one at a time, you would get confused. So He gives you divine guidance. So I work in the Department of Corrections, and I want to clear up a couple of things that you probably hear from people that's been in jail. I've been free case. You ever hear that? There's no case that's free. If you are a parent locked up, every time your child says daddy and daddy don't show up, your child is paying a price for you being there. Every time your mother feeds your favorite meal and she looks across the table and you're not sitting there, she's paying a price. Every time your spouse rolls over to a cold pillow instead of you, they're paying a price. You might be locked up 10, 15 years, but you have not paid your debt to society because in society you have children, women, and families. Am I right? In jail you don't have that. Not cohesively. So you've been removed from society. You don't start paying your price for what you did until you get out. Then you see what juror number 13 thought about what you did. Juror number 50 and 500 thought about what you did every time you fill out for an application. I've been around a lot of institutions, and it's sad to say,
that when this hits, we're going to lose a lot of family members because the institutions do not practice evaluation of inmates. They're not practicing correction. They're practicing punishment because the ones locked up represent their fears and their phobias of why their grandmother can't cook in the backyard and their child can't go down to the corner. We're hurt. Let me take you down a little trip down when you were young and we watched The Wizard of Oz. Because that's where we're at today. See, you notice in The Wizard of Oz, it started off with a female and a dog, am I right? That's because only a female can get pregnant. But inside the man is a feminine. The subconscious is feminine. The consciousness is masculine. When he's conscious, he provides, he protects, he maintains. When he's in his feminine nature, he nurtures and he comforts. But when someone drops a suggestion into the subconscious, like that sperm, it gives rise to birth, to thoughts, ideas, and concepts. When I go into the prison system, we have people who can't even talk. They're 30 years old. They still calling each other dog. But dogs don't talk unless you've been watching a lot of cartoons. When you look at the cages that they're in, if you look at the gate, it's the same size gate that if you ever went to a circus, the lion tamer comes in. With a chair in one hand and a whip in the other, and when he cracks it, they jump up on chairs, they jump up on tables. They have lost the divinity of being a human being. And we act on an animalistic level. If you listen to their talk, they're in an animal world. What's up, dog? See them cats over there? I was talking to an old bird. Shamika, she's a hood rat. This one is a chicken head, and that brother's a snake. These are not human factors. Every animal is instinctive. You are blessed with God because you are able to not only be instinctive, but intellectual. They had a group called Niggas with an Attitude. We don't need niggas with an attitude. We need black men and women with a plan. The whole program of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is do for self. Am I right? I want you to look at that phrase, do for self. Develop, organize, focus on resources, and secure economic luxury and friendships in all walks of life. That's what we should be doing as a people. It shouldn't take Brother Paul to do this. We should be doing it. We separate ourselves. In prison, we got Crips and Bloods. Because they're not taught properly. If you say Crip and Blood, and is in the middle. And makes things equal on both sides. And spelled backwards is DNA. And once we teach them that they're family, then they bring red with blue, turn into purple, and go back to their royal mindset. But we're not teaching them this. We're certifying children at 12 and 15 years old as adults. And we're saying it's okay. When this hits, Fubu came out for us by us. But you want to be Tommy's boys and Tommy's girls. You got a $200 pay attention, but you can't outrun the police. And you just to watch the change in the prison as they transform. Because they do transform. I mean, they hair all down and they talking all that gang stuff, but I've never seen one walk into a courtroom. What you gonna do for 4-4 boys, 6-0, 8 trip? Nothing. But as soon as that police or that bell says, all rise, you gotta call NASA because they jump up so fast you think rocket ships took off. But you can't get them to get up. You can get in your car and go down the end of the corner and you see a sign STOP, what do you do in your car? You stop. But as soon as you're in an argument with another person and someone say, hey, hold up. Get away from me. You can't tell me what to do, but you'll listen in the middle or won't listen to your brother and sister. We have a problem with that. Prisons is big business. It's not called the justice system. It's called the criminal justice system because the criminal's running. The criminal is protected because he hides our children with a no snitch clause. Now let me tell you, there's something different between telling and snitching. Okay? See, you will never have equal rights until you accept equal responsibility. In Brentwood, Ladue, Fairview Heights, when them white folks dial 911, the police shows up within 9 minutes and 11 seconds. In the Blue Mine, the JPL, the Cochran, the Peabody, Washington Park, you hit 911, they show up in 9 hours and 11 minutes because there's no system rushing to hear your lies about you don't know what's going on. We have to be cohesive in this struggle. It's going to take some pain, it's going to take some work. You see butterflies in the summertime, but they don't become beautiful until they go from an ugly state as a caterpillar. As a black piece of coal, you will never become a diamond until you learn how to handle pressure. And I thank Almighty God for our teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as personified by the Honorable Minister Farrakhan on properly handling the people. You see? Now, when you look at Scripture, it says all Scripture is given by God, through inspiration of God, for reproof, for doctrine, for correction in the training of righteousness. I'm a correction officer, not a punishment. I'm not qualified to punish you. But with what I know that will change you, I'm obligated to do. I got to get that blood off my hand. You should want to get it off of you. If you look to the person beside you, me and you and him, and that conjunction brings us together. Quit looking at the titles and start working on the principles. Assalamu alaikum.
Evening. Peace. Assalamu alaikum. What's good? So, good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Brother Bilal Muhammad. I serve as the Deputy Chief Fire Marshal with the Northeast Atlantic Fire Protection District. Very thankful to have the privilege of being among you all. And I'm perhaps one of Sister Aurelia Denby Muhammad's greatest fans. So when I heard she was going to be in town, I rushed on over. So I didn't come to try to teach anything. I came to be taught. Because like my comrade Brian said, he's a very modest brother. He's got a big position in our fire department. He's number 3 in the most progressive fire department in North Carolina. He's our Chief Medical Officer Battalion Chief. And I served alongside him. But I'm going to not disabuse you here. I'm going to take less than 420 seconds to put over what I want to say to you all. That's just 7 minutes, you all. So, like Brian said, when you call 911 when disaster hits, we're not going to be able to get to you.
That's right.
I mean, that's just the cruel reality of it. Because our resources are going to be taxed, and we just have to really concentrate on things that are the most, as they deem, the most important. So I just outlined 7 items that I think will be helpful to all of us when disaster hits. I'm not going to expound on it because I know Ms. Muhammad is going to take us to a whole other level, but I think it will be something that you all will appreciate. When you come into my little office, I have a scripture from the Bible on the wall that keeps me humble and keeps me to be reminded of who and what I am. And it's Matthew 20 and 27. It reads, "And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant." So I'm a chief officer, so I serve the people. Regardless of how good they act toward me, I'm their servant. Some of them can be real ugly at me. I'm here to serve the black, the brown, the yellow, the red, and the white. So the 7 items I'd like to just touch on, I developed a 7-point action plan for our survival, and it's based on the acronym SURVIVE. The S stands for spirituality. Okay, that's just your connection with your God. I know we have Muslims here, we have Christians, we have those who don't practice a core traditional religion, but we are all family. We have to see beyond those artificial boundaries. The youth that we outlined is unity. And we had a term that unity starts, begins with U-N-I, U-N-I-T-Y. It begins with you and I being on the same accord mentally and spiritually, and then we can do the work physically. The R in survival stands for rationing. You have to have food, rations, food supplies, medical supplies, and know how to use them. The V is voice or communications. We have to be able to communicate with each other because your communication is going to be wiped out. So we got plans and ideas for that as well. The I stands for improvise. You got to learn how to put out fires. You got to learn how to start fires. You got to learn how to keep yourself warm. You got to do things to survive. One incident that came to my mind as a firefighter, it was a young Asian man who died in one of the ice storms a couple of years ago because he just didn't know. See, the Bible said my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, just not knowing. He wanted to keep himself warm, so he started a barbecue pit in the basement with charcoal briquettes. He did not know that that sets off carbon monoxide, which is a colorless, odorless gas that will kill you. So he lost his life because he just didn't know. So we have to improvise, we have to learn. The V in survive stands for victory. Because we will have the victory if we plan. These calamities are not here to kill the righteous, they're here to chastise the wicked. But if we are slothful like the foolish grasshopper jumping all over the place, then we are going to die along with those who are not planning. And the last but not least is the E. It stands for educate. And we have to evaluate our disaster readiness, our unity, and we have to exercise. Not only exercise the plan, but get your body fit to withstand the stresses that's going to be put upon it when these things begin to go down. The more physically fit you are, mentally and spiritually, it will transfer to your physical fitness. So that's all I have, family. I'd just like to thank you all and thank Miss Muhammad. I'm one of her greatest fans, and I know she's going to put it down tomorrow in teaching us because I came to be taught. Thank you, family. Peace be unto you.
Brothers and sisters, before we go to questions, we got one more brother that he has to say a few words. He's a solar energy consultant and an engineer. Put your hands together for Brother Dawood Muhammad.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, I am greatly honored to be before each and every one of you, and I want to thank all of you. It's kind of hard to come back behind some of these great speakers that we had, and I'd like to please give them a round of applause for their presence. Thank you. What I'd like to just start off by saying that, believe it or not, this is such a serious subject that I'm in agreement with you, Brother Shafiq. Mentioned that we should have had more people here, and I think that this is the start. So that means that each one of us has an obligation to bring 5, bring 10 with you. You can start with the little ones first, because the sister described that about the children. That should be something that they should be eager to hear. I've got something for you. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, so just be patient with me. But I would forewarn you to take your pen and pencil right now, find some paper, take notes. Because what you're about to hear here is information you're not going to hear on ABC, CBS or NBC, but right here, only the place you can get the information you need to survive. And so, to get started, I think that there was somewhere, sister, that I read that the population in St. Louis has something like, I think, 82 to 84% of single female head households. And in that population of 82 to 84% of single female head households, there is another statistic that's talking about, in essence, what are we going to do as a family to be able to come together, to be able to survive during a time of a natural disaster? We're in a minute. Okay? And I used to use this approach, for Paul, that when I give a lecture or something, and believe it or not, I give lectures all over the country. I've flown back and forth all over and come back here to try to educate us more about what we need to do to survive. But what really gets my attention most of all is that I used to say, what we're going to do when the lights go out. And so what happens once I say that, you usually have a brother somewhere, right right there next to the switch, and then they turn the lights right out. Wait, and everybody get in the dark real quick. Like, oh, wait a minute. Now, you know, maybe that would get somebody's attention real quick. But what happened is that the question is, what will you do, and what are you going to do when the lights go out? I just said 84% or 82% of the black community in St. Louis is single female head household. Now, what does that mean? If the lights is out, right now, I can prove to you that somebody could be sitting up in this room right now in pitch darkness, and somebody could be sitting up in here with us, and we would never know that a stranger had just walked into this room. I can show you that when you could be sitting in your own house, and you can have your babies right there, and a stranger could be sitting up in your house with you, and you would never know it, and they could be up to 5, 10, 15 feet away from you. So this is very serious stuff. We talk about security, and it's a part of the FOI, the child will teach what we receive as FOI, that's not like Congress to secure our property in view. So that means you two sisters and our children. So that means that you're not property, but you're property of God. You see? So what I'm saying is that at this very point, that where I'm getting ready to take us to, is that now I have a solution. One sister referred something about the wintertime, and they say that the righteous pray that the shock of the hour never happens during the time of the winter. Well, here I got a solution for you right now. Okay. Now, what I'm going to say to you again is I say take notes, because I know that we don't have a lot of money, and I deal with solar systems, and I understand what the cost is. I wanted to bring the solar system here. That's what I really was trying to do. That's probably took up some of my time, but I couldn't do that, so I said, well, let's bring what's most important. Yes, we need the solar panels. You heard about that. But what I thought about, I said, well, wait a minute. Maybe if I just tell you this, that this may help you survive during a natural disaster. And here I go. What I want to show you, this right here, I bought this right here, and you can go to any automobile store, and you can get you an inverter. This is called an AC to DC inverter. Now, to give you a little bit of background about who I am, let's just say, well, is this guy qualified to say what he's talking about? Well, my background is I'm an engineer. I'm actually a real engineer. I'm an electronic engineer. That means I can build radios from scratch to put a satellite out in space if I really wanted to. But on top of it, for you sisters, for those of you here, I do have another background, and I actually did my internship at Home Depot Hospital. I worked as a clinical laboratory technician, where I drew blood and medical lab tests, and worked in hematology, serology, microbiology, did blood bank, so you can understand where I'm coming from. So that just gives you a little general background information about me, right? Well, this right here is information you all need to know about. This right here costs you around about, some of them can run like $59 to $79 for just this right here, this DC to AC inverter. And some of us are not, electrically inclined or mechanically inclined, but basically this is a very simple process. When you buy this inverter right here, it comes with 2 outlets. The outlets are right here. And so all you do is just plug it in. It's just, to me, I call it a plug, but it's a quick plug and play. But what you need is a power source to survive. Get back to that thing about the winter time. I'm still not through with that. Now, in the mosque, I literally set up a communication system for St. Louis, East St. Louis, and Alton, where we literally was able to communicate back and forth during the Y2K scare. And I did it for like $100. Okay? So just give you an example. Since we're on a budget, we got to figure out something, right? Okay, well, here's a good budget right here. Every one of us should be able to go buy this inverter for $59.79. Go to AutoZone or to what other place? Yeah, there you go. Those places like that. And then you'll see it. It looks just like this. And all you have to do is the black right here is ground or negative. Okay, so when you got a battery, you just take this black and put it on the negative pole of battery. Then you have the red right here, this right here, you just take it and you open it up, and you put it right on top of the positive side, which is like a plus sign, on the battery. And guess what happens? You hear this thing go like that, right? But then once you know you got that sound, then all you have to do from there is in the front of this, there's these two outlets, which are like regular outlets in your home. But you can take your, let's figure out what can we put on here. Okay? You ready for that? All right. This right here says, this is an 800 watt. 800 watt inverter. Right? All right, now, you see all the light bulbs that you see right there? Now, I don't know what those are. It might be 50 watt or 60 watt bulbs, right? Okay, but if we change the bulbs to those little twisty type, those will be 13 watts. All right, now we said 13 watts, right? So we got 10 times 13. How much is that? 130, right? All right, so now we got 10 light bulbs at 130 watts, and this inverter right here is 800. Now, can we subtract that from this? So what's left? Huh? Okay, so, all right, we got 700? Oh, no, this is 800. Yeah, so we got 7? 6, 7. Okay, then we got 6, 7. All right, guess what? Now we got the lights. We got 10 rooms of house with lights right now. Did you hear that? Okay, now all of a sudden we got a refrigerator. What are we going to do now? We got the refrigerator, and we do know that the refrigerator, if you don't keep constantly opening it up, you know, you can go a few days, but you know how that goes. But mainly, do you know that you can actually plug your refrigerator up and extend it? That means you can extend the food, because when they had the power outages that hit us with the heat wave here in St. Louis area, people had to travel 150 miles outside of the area to be able to just get water, ice. Okay? They didn't have no, the air conditioner was out, and they didn't have no fans, and that's where I wanted to go. Guess where you can put here? You can put a fan right here. Okay? Alright? You can actually plug in a fan. Now, I promise that I'm going to be short. I'm trying to move fast when we start. But the point is that now we got two outlets, one for a fan, one for a refrigerator. A refrigerator, normally if you got one of those with in-star refrigerators, they run about 400 watts, 400 to 600 watts. All right? But you can go and plug it up, but you don't have to necessarily keep it on, plugged up all the time. If you don't do nothing but what? Plug it up every 30 minutes. Let it rise just enough to keep it going, and every 24 hours, or every 45 hours, or every 8 hours, every 6 hours, or whatever. You see what I'm saying? And the same way when you do use this with the battery, you can also not have to keep the lights on, how would I say, during the daytime. All right? But when you can use the batteries for what? At night. Did you see that? Now, you can actually run on one battery. And I'm trying to say this something when I say this, for 3 to 4, 5 nights with maybe 2 or 3 lights. Okay, because I wanted to save the rest of that power for a laptop. A laptop uses only like 15 watts, 15 to 25 watts. So now what we got? We got now 25 watts. We got what? 100 and something watts on the light bulbs. All right, now I'm gonna give y'all one big. I'm going to save the rest of some time to think of some other things that you can look at and put on here. You can actually put on your television on here. Most televisions run like 150 watts. Okay, we're talking about 22-inch color television. Okay? All right? Now, we're going to take this to the next level. Are you ready? Now, this is one that really gets you. You ready for that? All right. Okay, you're going to say, where's that guy? But here we go. In the wintertime, and if your power goes out, and you're in the wintertime and your furnace is out, you can literally take this right here and plug it up. Now, you've got to get an electrician to do this, okay? But you can put a transfer switch, or you can literally disconnect it from that pump of where it's feeding into the furnace and plug it up into here. And you can literally do what? Turn your furnace on. So now there is no excuse for nobody freezing to death in their homes. Okay? Now, I'm just letting you know that this is what you can be able to do.
especially with a transfer switch. A transfer switch is nothing but it's already hot on one end, and when the power goes off, you just manually hit the transfer switch over to the battery. And then, now get this, you will only put it on just enough till you feel the house is warm. And do what? There you go. There you go. Oh, where you learn that from? I want to know where you get that from. Okay. That's the same way with the refrigerator, right? Okay, what we're going to do when the refrigerator get cold and you know the food is frozen, what you going to do? Right, you're going to save that, right? Now, watch this. Now, let's go back to the lights. We're talking about 3 to 4 to 5 nights. I didn't say daytime. I said 3 or 4 or 5 nights where you could have 10 lights on if you wanted to. You see what I'm saying? So that way, that'll be a good week for you where you have light. Now, I do know that through my research that it's going to be really horrifying because Quran speaks about it like the shock of God. But, and the scripture talks about it as well. But what I want to say is that when the earthquake hit, you're talking about from the data and research that I've received and did the research on, you're talking that before you can see any form of normalcy in just in your electrical power in 3 to 5 years before they even see any electricity in these areas. I'll repeat that again, just in case I didn't say it right loud enough, or maybe I didn't speak the right language. Okay, or maybe the language is what you're going to do when the lights go out. Okay, but I'm saying is we're talking about 3 to 5 years without any electrical power, and that is not going to be fun when you don't have any electrical power, because you have to look at the system talking about people in the nursing homes. Some of us are halfway to get into the nursing home. We don't know it yet, but we may be here. Okay, I hope I ain't talking about myself here. Okay, but I have to say this to make you laugh so you can really get ready to hear what I'm getting ready to really say. Is that in these nursing homes, and you got the elderly and babies that are on respirators. And when there is no electrical power, you're in trouble. And get back to the brother who was talking about being in the prisons when the electrical power go out, and you were in these prisons. Well, if you remember what happened down in Katrina, they did not open up the gates, so they were flooded and drowned to death inside those prisons. Okay? So, but now, I actually did a study on the entire police department. I'm working on it right now. I'm trying to get it under my belt this money out. Yeah. But the thing is that we're talking about using battery backup systems so that when the power grid goes down and the generators don't work, then they'll open up. We can at least have the power with the batteries to get the prison doors, the gates, whatever it is, open up. But now, most important, if you look at creating something new in your community, I have actually took the solar panel, and now if you use a solar panel, this could be used to just recharge the battery bank. But if you don't have a recharger, if you know a storm is coming, then if you've been using it to reduce your electricity or something at home, what you can actually do is get a home charger. You can also buy a charger in advance of the storm. All right, so if you hear there's an earthquake, maybe you think there's an earthquake 500 miles away from you, right? And if you know it's kind of close by, maybe you might want to think about, I think it's time to recharge my battery, just in case that earthquake comes down this way, okay? Especially if you're hearing it coming through Memphis or Alabama or Washington, D.C., or Ohio, Missouri is going to, it's like a bowling alley, the magic formula. But at this point, whatever I'm giving you the information about this, I'm going to finish up and I'll be done with this last part. This was what? How much did I say this was going to be? All right, okay, because I'm trying to keep getting $200, so something is missing. Yeah, something is missing. So I'm trying to keep you in around about $250 or $200, right? Now what's missing? We don't have a solar panel right now. Let's just say without the solar panel. Yeah, there you go. There you go. The battery.
remember, the more the batteries you have, the longer what? The longer you can go with more batteries, right? Okay? So, but now, with that, we got the batteries, and what else can we do? We got the charger, the battery. Now, let me explain something about the battery. Do not buy a regular battery, car battery. And after that, I'll be through talking. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to talk to me, but I am an MD consultant. I actually consult with governments, nations, other countries, all that kind of stuff, whatever. But let me get into this. With the battery, and also on the radio station too, I'm going to talk about radio. Okay, how did you guess? Okay, well, the thing is that the battery type that I want you to get is nothing under 100 amp hour battery. And you want a deep cycle battery. You can get away with a truck battery, but the only problem with a truck battery is that it produces a gas, the hydrogen gas, and you have to be concerned, and you have to make sure it's well ventilated, and you can't be smoking any cigarettes or lighting up anything around it, or it will explode. Okay? But if you use a deep cycle battery means that that's why you're able to go, 3, 4, 5 days to a week on one deep cycle battery. And so the price of those batteries can come pretty heavy. You got some that are made of liquid batteries. Gel type batteries, the AGM batteries, or the valve regulated, it's called PRLA batteries, called valve regulated acid lead batteries, which means those are the ones that that you can have around you. When you use this and you look it up, it actually goes through a process of what they call electrolysis, which causes a process of the hydrogen being produced from out of the water that is inside the battery, or the acid that's inside the battery. So with this, what we're looking at is that, as we're talking about the trialysis and stuff, what I want to say is that you can use a truck battery, but a car battery would not work at all. So you get your deep cycle battery, or it's called marine battery, but you want to get nothing less than 100 amp hours. That means that 100 amp hour battery means that you got fans, those big old plastic fans that you got, they only using 2, 3, 4 amps. So now subtract that out of that 100 amp hour. I give you a general idea where we're going with this thing. But now we're just looking at it from the voltage or from the watts, and in terms of the 800 watt inverter that we have here. If you can get a 1,000 watt inverter, I prefer that you get a 1,000 watt inverter where you really can be comfortable and help the next door neighbor. But with what we have here, I was lucky to get 800 watt here for you guys. And this thing, as I said, this will cost what? $59. My God, I don't know what happened. What I said, I got more people over speaking than I thought. Okay, well, $59 though, for those who didn't know anything or didn't hear it, but I'll say it again, $59. And then what's next? What's next? The battery. Oh, back to the battery. Now the battery I can't come back and tell you you're going to get one for $59 unless you didn't use one off the street, But normally those batteries can come at 100 and what? You can get them for about 100. Okay, you can. That's right. Deep cycle batteries. So now you got 100 and how much? Okay, $159. I said I want to do something under 200 or 200, right? All right, then what else do I got to do? The charger. We'll talk that up. Sit there with me. Oh, somebody sharp up in here. I see a few sharp people up in here already. All right, we got $29. So now what we got now? 29 with the 150, that's how much is that? We have the 200, whatever we can say, right? But guess what else we could have? We could go and buy a pack of light bulbs, couldn't we? The 13 watt light bulbs. That would not help. I would love to see us also get into having candle making as an art. And the sisters get together and start learning how to make candles, And if you want to get real good about it, make some favorite candles. But right now, this is how you can be able to survive. That means that you've got refrigerator, and you now know what else. It's a refrigerator.
Fan, light, laptop.
The fan, there you go. There you go. And the heater. Yeah. We can get that too. Since you mentioned that, do you know if you go online, and this is some research for you for some of you scientists out there, go online and put in the search engine this DC TV. DC hot pots. What do you call the things when you got the eyes on and you clip on the light? Hot plates. There you go, hot plates. But this one would be not AC, but what would it be? DC. All right, what else can you have? You see that little fan right there? That's a fan. It don't have to be AC. Guess what it could be? DC. There you go. And same way with the fan stand, or the fan stand, or whatever. But anyway, now we got DC TV, we got DC refrigerators, we got DC cooking pots, even crock pots. We got 12 you can cook beans or whatever out of that. And then down the road, there's something else you can do. In the summertime, you can literally make an oven. I call it a solar oven. And with that, I was talking about Sharif. He's so much into his cooking and stuff that he was talking about cooking healthy foods and healthy breads. So you can, diabetic bread, he's talking about diabetic food, so you can have the cakes and stuff and not worry about diabetes, affecting your diabetes. But I came up with a thing where we create a solar oven where we can cook up to 100 loaves of bread at one time, about 45 minutes to 1 hour. Then we came up with another idea down in the U.S. market that some of you already aware of. I came up with a thing called solar hydroponic or solar microponic system, where you can use this also for a pump. Matter of fact, my wife is in there too. We got a fish that's 15 years old, and all the time in 15 years we had lights cut off and everything. That fish loved me now. That's a hell of a wild love. That fish was. That fish could have 15 years, and sometimes I used to look at her and say, you know what? Okay, I may have been skipping. And so, but then it dawned on me that instead of me going around and getting one more pretty fish, like the goldfish and everything, I said, you might taste a little bitter. So I started thinking about tilapia. Yep. So what we did is that we started right down in the U.S. market. Am I right? There he is. He'll give you a vouch on that. We started out with 8 tilapia fish, so we moved all the way up to 5,000 tilapia fish. And I want you to know we didn't give up that process. We got another location where right now we got 10,000 tilapia fish. Now we got the fishes growing now to the point that we created a colony, a breeding colony, that we pretty much hit 100,000 tilapia fish in no time. Okay? So I'm just giving you some ideas. And so right now I just want to thank you for your time. I'm just trying to give you some thoughts and some ideas that we can be able to survive. Look at it or whatever. You want to take a look at it, pass it around. You can feel it. Just be careful about me. I don't want you to cut your clothes.
Thank you all. Let's give them all about 10 minutes.